Hello and welcome back, everyone. I am Natalie Schlute, your host and your manifestation coach, spirit guide channeler. Today's episode is all about what the difference is between an empath and a highly sensitive person. I feel like there's a lot of people that use these words interchangeably, but they're actually quite different. They can overlap for some people, and then for others, they don't. And so I just wanted to break down what the difference is, what each of these things means, so that you have a lot of clarity over these terms, and it might actually help you to identify if you are an empath, if you are a highly sensitive person, or someone you know, maybe your partner, maybe your kids have some of these qualities. And it will help you to understand how to navigate, how to coach and guide them or support them in whatever way that they need the most. If you love content like this, be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I come out with new content. I also have a ton of playlists on my YouTube page that are all about empaths, so be sure to check out all of those other videos to binge watch more of all this amazing great content. Let's get started with defining what a highly sensitive person is. Someone who is highly sensitive can be sensitive in a variety of different ways. They could be physically sensitive. They could have a neurologically sensitive body, meaning they are sensitive to the touch. They are sensitive on their physical interaction with the world. And that can be coming from a hypersensitive nervous system, meaning they could have some toxicity in their bodies. So they might have some heavy metals, they might have some viral load, bacterial load in their body, there may be toxins in their environment. These are things that they could have been born with. It could be from vaccines that they've taken as a child. So there might be an actual physiological reason why someone is more physically sensitive than others. So that could be one reason there's some hypersensitivity going on. And if those are the cases, I highly recommend looking into Anthony Williams' work. He calls himself the medical medium. He talks all about neurological disorders, chronic pain, chronic diseases, and how to clear that out through diet, through celery juice. And it's something that I've been on a long journey with. And his work is the only work that has helped me with my neurological symptoms and my hypersensitivity on a physical level. So feeling a lot of chronic pain and things like that. So highly recommend if you're feeling physically hypersensitive, then check out his work. Other ways that you might be highly sensitive, or someone you know is highly sensitive, is you might be emotionally hypersensitive, right? You might be a very highly sensitive emotional person. And that can come from a lot of different things. Often it's from one, not knowing how to label your emotions, feeling detached from what's going on in your body, trying to escape it, not knowing how to process your own emotional system. And then also just the thought patterns, the mindset behind how we're interpreting the world. Many of us did not grow up in families and in households where we learned how to label and process and be emotionally supported with what we were thinking and feeling. And this is something that I wish was taught in schools, but I've learned it as an adult, and I've been able to process through a lot of my hypersensitivity as an adult in my 20s and 30s. But some of us can be hypersensitive simply because we're taking things personally, we're taking things the wrong way. Maybe we have old trauma, old wounds that we didn't know how to process when we were younger, and we are still being triggered by them unconsciously. So you can be an emotionally sensitive person simply because you don't know how to manage your own thoughts and emotions. You haven't learned those skill sets yet in order to come from a very healthy space. So you might be sensitive when people say certain things. You might get offended very easily. You might be offended by other people, or things like that. So there's this emotional tendency. But when you learn how to manage your mindset, when you learn how to see the world differently, when you stop taking things personally from other people and realize that the things that people say and do are a reflection of who they are, not who you are, then suddenly you may become less sensitive because you have a better mindset. I used to be a very highly sensitive person on the emotional level, but once I worked through and learned how to see the world in a totally different way, I learned how to process and manage emotions. I don't consider myself a highly sensitive person on the emotional level anymore. So those are two ways someone can be highly sensitive. They can be emotional, right? The mindset, the trauma, the so forth, and they could be physical. They could have something physiologically going on with them. You can also be highly sensitive because you are an empath. So this is where things start to overlap. An empath is, let's start with just the definition of an empath. Empath means to be empathetic towards someone, is to be able to feel what someone else is feeling, to put yourself in someone else's shoes and experience what they're experiencing. So you can have the ability to try to be empathetic towards someone. That's putting yourself in their shoes and thinking about how they would think and how they would feel in a given circumstance. And then there are some of us who naturally do this very quickly, very easily, very readily, and don't even realize we're doing it, which means maybe we are in an environment where there are other people that are having an emotional experience, and suddenly we are taking on those emotions. We are feeling what they're feeling. Someone walks into the room and they're really upset, they're really angry. We feel those emotions. Someone else walks into the room and they're really happy, they're overjoyed. We're taking on those emotions. We feel happy and overjoyed. So there's a natural ability for human beings to feel what other people are feeling. This is something we are all capable of doing. It's just some of us have a tendency to experience this more than others. So it's on a spectrum. We're all capable of this, but some people are just more highly sensitive as an empath, meaning you're in a large crowd of people and things like that, and you feel more energy. It either hypes you up or it wears you down. If you have a weaker immune system or neurological system, you might actually feel fizzled out from being in big social situations and things like that. So a highly sensitive person can be sensitive on a lot of different levels. You can be sensitive to smells, you can be sensitive to sensations in your body, you can be sensitive to heat and cold. Those are all kind of neurological things. You can be sensitive emotionally, but you can also be sensitive to other empathic emotional people in your environment as well. This includes the collective consciousness. So when there are big things going on in the world, you might be highly sensitive and feel this energetic shift. I'm also highly sensitive in the way that I can tell when things are going on with the planets. I'll be sitting in bed and all of a sudden I tell my husband, something's happening. I can feel something in the cosmos, like something just shifted. And then I Google on my phone, I find out Mercury literally just went into retrograde that day. And it wasn't something I knew before. I could just feel this energetic shift. So you might be highly sensitive and be sensitive to polarity shifts, magnetic shifts that are going on the planet and in the cosmos, with satellites being sent off, with EMF radiation and things like that. Some of us are just highly sensitive, but you can be highly sensitive in a variety of ways. If you're an empath, this is someone who genuinely feels other people's emotions very easily, very readily. This was something that I've done my whole life, and I wish I had learned when I was a kid that I was an empath, and that's why I was so emotional. One of the reasons why, right? Some of it was my mindset. Some of it was that I was taking things personally and I didn't know how to process my emotions. But the other part of my high sensitivity was that I was an empath, and I am an empath, meaning I can feel what other people are feeling to an extent, to the best of my ability, but I feel it more amplified than some other people. Maybe me and someone else who's not an empath are in the same room and a third person walks in and they're really emotional. Maybe the person sitting next to me can be very emotionally detached. They don't feel pulled into that other person's emotions. But me, I get this wave of energy that floods my nervous system, that floods my aura, that floods my chakras, and I can actually feel their emotional pain. Sometimes I can even feel their physical pain. This is a clairsentient ability as well when it's very physical. And so an empath is someone who either knowingly or unknowingly takes on other people's energy. This can get a little messy because if you're an empath and you don't know you're an empath, other people's emotions might be influencing you and you don't even realize it's happening. This happened for decades and decades. I really just learned this in the last 5 to 10 years, how to actually manage my empath abilities, because I was taking on other people's energies left and right everywhere I went and I didn't know it. And I kept wondering why I felt confused, why I felt funky, why I was feeling weird. It's because I'm just picking things up. And then because I was observing it in myself, I was observing that vibration, that emotion inside myself that didn't even belong to me in the first place. Suddenly I was fixating on, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way? And then I was holding on to it. So I didn't even realize as an empath, I had this pattern of not only taking on other people's energy unconsciously, but then by fixating and wondering and questioning why and observing it within my own vibration, I suddenly was holding on to it as well. And so part of the process of being an empath is learning to define what is your energy, learning to define what is not your energy, being aware of when it's your energy, being aware of when it's someone else's, and choosing consciously to let go of other people's energy. We can't always stop energy from coming in. Energy is energy. It ebbs and flows. It's not about turning off your empath abilities in order to help yourself or protect yourself. It's about learning how your energy works, getting very clear on who you are and who you want to be and what your energy is, and then holding on to your energy so strong and so tight that your energy overrides the energy of other people. Whoever has the strongest integrity in their own vibrational vantage point in a given room, that person will overpower the other people in the room. So if you're an empath, if you are someone who picks up other people's energy, you feel other people's energy and you get all wigged out, right? You feel really uncomfortable and it kind of messes you up emotionally because now you're holding on to other people's stuff. It's so important for you to, one, know your energy, know who you want to be, know how you want to vibrate emotionally, mentally, and physically, and hold that energy frequency. You have to be so good at holding your own energy that when you walk into any room or anyone walks into your room, you can feel what they're feeling because you're an empath, you're going to. But you can also choose to let it go very quickly, and you can choose to stay strong in who you choose to be. That is the skill set that every empath needs to know. So, empath abilities are very specific to tapping into and feeling other people's energy, whether you're unconsciously holding on to it, whether you're mastering it so that you can feel it and let it go. It is a superpower, and I say superpower because it allows you to understand people better. It allows you to navigate other people's emotions and soothe them and help them and serve them in a really beautiful way. It's a great, great power to have. But it can work to your disadvantage if you don't know how to use your power, if you don't know how to hold your own space, if you don't consciously choose who you want to be and how you want to feel, and then keep that as your stronghold, as your vibrational frequency. So that's the difference between empaths and highly sensitive people. Empaths, specific to other people, highly sensitive can be highly sensitive in a variety of ways, mentally, emotionally, physically, and then you can also just be sensitive as an empath. There's different levels of empath abilities. Again, it's something everyone has the ability to tap into. It's just people that are more highly sensitive tend to be really amplified sometimes with their empath abilities. But you can be highly sensitive without being an empath. You can be highly sensitive to neurological symptoms. You can be highly sensitive when it comes to holding on to traumas from your past, not knowing how to process your own emotions, taking things personally, but maybe you're not sensitive to other people's emotions because you're so caught up in your own biorhythm of patterns of trauma, of sensitivity, of your mindset. So there can be some narcissistic tendencies there as a highly sensitive person where you're so wrapped up in your emotional psyche that is not necessarily at a high level of maturity or mental health necessarily, and you can get caught up in that and be really sensitive, but it's not necessarily coming from other people. It's because you're caught up in your own mind, in your own patterns, and in some patterns that maybe aren't serving you all that well. All of these are totally normal. I want to normalize all of these experiences because these are experiences that most of us have. I'm going to tell you right now, this is across the board. These are normal, everyday things, and it's okay. It's part of being human. It's part of the human consciousness. It's part of the collective here on planet Earth. It's part of growing up. It's part of learning. It's part of evolving. It's part of just how life is. So it's okay to be any of these and all of these in any variation. It's okay to be where you are right now and to learn how to manage and improve these skill sets as well. I do have an episode. If you love the stuff on empaths and want to learn more about that, I have a whole series of episodes that you can find on my podcast or my YouTube channel. The best one that I would recommend is how to let go of other people's energy, because that's going to guide you through the entire process of asking, acknowledging, questioning, and then releasing and choosing your vibration. It's a tool that every empath must and absolutely needs to know. And I've got a lot of other good stuff too. So be sure to check out all of those on my channels. I also have tons of freebies that are extremely helpful. So be sure to check those out. You can go to my website, natalieschlute.com/free-library, and I will put that in the notes below where you can get all of my free downloads. There's over 70 downloads there. There are multiple guides specific to being a sensitive empath, how to protect yourself, how to take care of yourself, and how to manage your own emotions. So be sure to check those out. There's even some great free guided meditations to help program your mind so that you're releasing energy that doesn't serve you and you're programming yourself for self-love and confidence. These are things that are so important as an empath, as a sensitive person, and I really do hope that they help you in your journey and living a better quality life. Be sure to subscribe, like, and hit that bell so you get notified every time I have new episodes for you. And if you want more of the good stuff, go to my page and binge watch all of the playlists that I have on my page. I have playlists on highly sensitive people, on empaths, on all of your intuitive psychic skills, manifestation skills, lots of fun stuff. So go ahead and binge, and I'll see you in the next episode.